In the most remote corner of the world, where the Dreadwood peaks kiss the sky and the mire of lost voices whispers its secrets, lies a settlement called Haven's End. This isn't a place you'd find on any map. It was founded by people who wanted to disappear, a community bound by ancient rules and an almost pathological fear of outsiders. But the most dominant feature of this land isn't the town or the mountains. It's a desolate, rounded hill known as Shadow Ridge, and at its very peak sits an enormous, ancient cairn, towering pile of smooth, black river stones. The settlers' old journals are clear. This isn't a tombstone. It's a boundary. This is where our story truly begins, with Dr. Alistair Finch, a sharp-eyed ethnographer who specialized in what he called isolationist folklore. He wasn't interested in the people of Haven's End, who were aggressively unwelcoming. No, Alistair was there for the cairn. He was following in the footsteps of his predecessor, a Professor Lara who had vanished while studying the very same structure 5 years earlier. The only thing she left behind was a single, frantic audio log. Alistair, ever the professional, set up his high-tech camp, a safe distance from the ridge. Time-lapse cameras, sensitive microphones, a whole rig of surveillance gear. He was ready for anything. His first week was mostly quiet, punctuated only by the grim warnings from the locals to respect the stone. The cairn itself was silent, motionless, and from a scientific standpoint, utterly unremarkable. But Alistair, with his keen eye, noticed something deeply wrong. The shadow cast by the cairn was unnatural. Even at high noon, the western side of the stones seemed to absorb the light, turning an impossible shade of black. And at dusk, its shadow would stretch and slide across the ground like a living thing. During his second week, Alistair made a discovery. Hidden under a patch of moss, he found the missing pages of Professor Alera's journal. The final entries were a terrifying scrawl. The words of a mind on the brink, she wrote. The cairn isn't holding something out. It's holding something in. It's been contained, but the containment is eroding. The stones aren't just stones there. The skin. And then, the most chilling line of all. I hear the scratching now, not from the outside, from the inside. It's starved. It wants a witness. That very night, Alistair's equipment picked it up, a low, rhythmic scraping. It wasn't coming from the ground, or the stones themselves, but from the air directly above the cairn. It sounded like fingernails dragging across granite, a relentless, desperate sound. He put on his noise-canceling headphones, and the sound became terrifyingly real, laced with a faint, guttural exhale. He had to see for himself. He climbed the ridge, his flashlight beam dancing across the ancient stones. He found no cracks, no crevices, nothing to explain the sound, but as he circled the base, he felt it. A vibration coming up through the soles of his boots. A faint, rhythmic thump-thump-thump, like a gigantic, slow-beating heart buried deep within the earth. Alistair's blood ran cold. He wasn't just studying folklore. He was witnessing a primal form of containment, and it was failing. Something was clawing its way out. The next day, the true horror was revealed. Alistair reviewed the time-lapse footage from the night before, and there it was, at exactly 3:17 a.m. The cairn's shadow had separated from the structure. It didn't stretch or distort. It lifted, a solid, flat blackness, peeling itself off the ground like a sheet of ink, and it began to move. The shadow flowed down the ridge, slow and methodical, until it reached a large oak tree. It wrapped itself around the trunk, remained there for 30 minutes, and then silently slunk back up the ridge to reattach itself to the cairn's base. Alistair had to see the tree. He hiked to the spot, his heart pounding. The side of the oak that the shadow had touched was completely dead. The bark was gray and crumbling. The leaves withered to dust. It was as if the tree had been instantly drained of all life. The creature wasn't trying to escape all at once. It was sending out its shadow probe, a tool to test the world and consume any life force it could find. That happening driven by a terrifying mix of professional duty and raw fear. Alistair returned to the cairn. He armed himself with a high-powered lantern, hoping to flood the area with light. He sat, listening to the incessant scraping and the deep, seismic thump of the heart below. He decided to play the last part of Professor Alara's audio log. Her voice, thin and choked with static, whispered from the speaker. It doesn't have a body yet. The stones, they are its prison. It wants a host. It wants a witness to let it out. Don't look at the shadow, Alistair. Don't let it touch you. It will invert you, make you part of the tape cut out with a sound like tearing leather. And then, as the moon crested the Dreadwood Peaks, everything stopped. The scraping ceased. The rhythmic thump beneath the ground went silent. The silence that followed was heavier, colder, and more terrifying than any sound had been. Alistair looked up. The cairn's shadow was already moving. It had detached from the stones and was sliding down the ridge, straight for him. This was no slow, exploratory crawl. This was a deliberate, hungry rush. He grabbed his lantern, swinging it wildly, but the beam passed right through the shadow, having no effect. This wasn't an absence of light. It was a physical, mobile plane of non-light. Alistair scrambled to his feet to run, but it was too late. The shadow was on him, flowing up his legs and torso with the impossible speed of liquid. It felt cold, but not like ice. It felt like absolute nothingness. As the darkness enveloped his head, whispers erupted in his mind, louder than any sound. They weren't voices of pain. They were voices of ancient, absolute relief. Alistair didn't scream. His mind, his consciousness, his very self, wasn't destroyed. It was inverted. He felt his essence peel away from his body, just like the shadow peeling from the ground, leaving behind an empty, lifeless shell. The blackness retreated, flowing off his body and back, toward the ridge, carrying with it the vitality it had consumed. When the sun rose, the people of Haven's End found the anthropologist's body. He was untouched, but his eyes were wide open, staring blankly at the sky. They were completely, unnaturally gray, with the dull, smooth appearance of ancient river stones. The cairn on Shadow Ridge now seemed just a fraction smaller, as if a single layer of stones had vanished in the night. The boundary had thinned, and there, where Alistair Finch had fallen, a new sound had begun. A fresh, faint, rhythmic thump-thump-thump, joining the deeper heartbeat beneath the ridge. The ancient prison now held the captives, and the cairn was one step closer to crumbling. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the darkness. If you enjoy stories that explore the chilling corners of our world, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have many more tales to tell. Until next time, stay curious, and be careful what shadows you step into.